I had always prided myself on being a good husband. Ellie and I had built a life together over the years, filled with laughter, shared dreams, and countless evenings spent in the comfort of our home. Yet, as I stood in the kitchen one fateful evening, the aroma of her favorite pasta dish wafting through the air, a storm was brewing just beneath the surface of our seemingly perfect life. The clinking of wine glasses echoed softly as we prepared for dinner with Jack, our longtime family friend. He had always been charming, the kind of guy who could light up a room with his laughter and easy smile. As I set the table, I caught a glimpse of Ellie in the living room, her laughter mingling with Jack's, their connection palpable. There was an intimacy between them that struck a chord deep within me, something I had overlooked in my busy life. That night, as the wine flowed and conversations deepened, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. Ellie, usually so attentive, had a spark in her eyes that was different, almost electric. She leaned in closer to Jack, her laughter a little too loud, a little too inviting. I dismissed it as the effect of too much wine, but a nagging feeling settled in my gut. It was hard to ignore how she brushed her fingers against Jack's arm, how she let her laughter linger just a moment too long. Later, as I washed the dishes, I stole a glance into the living room. Ellie sat on the couch, her legs crossed, the dim light casting shadows that danced on her skin. Jack sat beside her, their heads bent together in a conspiratorial whisper. I felt a pang of jealousy twist my stomach, the kind of jealousy I had never known toward a friend. It was unsettling, this awareness that our friendship was becoming something I couldn't quite grasp. That night, after Jack left, Ellie and I settled into our routine, but the air was thick with unspoken words. I found myself watching her as she moved about the kitchen, her silhouette outlined by the soft glow of the overhead lights. She had always been beautiful, but tonight she radiated something I hadn't seen in a while, a wild, unrestrained energy. It sent a thrill through me, but also a chill. Was I losing her? As I climbed into bed, I couldn't help but think of Jack, the way he had looked at her, the way she responded. My mind raced with images of them together, sharing secret glances and laughter that felt all too intimate. I tried to push the thoughts away, but they lingered like a dark cloud. The quietness of the room was deafening, and I could feel the distance growing between us. In the days that followed, the tension only grew. I noticed the late nights Ellie began spending at work, her excuses becoming more frequent. Each time she walked out the door, I felt an ache in my chest, a fear that she was slipping further away. I tried to trust her, but each interaction with Jack felt like a reminder of my own inadequacies. My mind spiraled into a dark place, filled with images of their closeness. One evening, while I was tidying up the living room, I found Ellie's phone on the coffee table, screen lit up with a message from Jack. My heart raced as I picked it up, a mix of curiosity and dread flooding through me. The message was playful, filled with inside jokes and emojis that hinted at a familiarity I wasn't a part of. It was the final straw, shattering my sense of security. I confronted Ellie that night, my voice shaky as I tried to hold back the flood of emotions. She looked at me, confusion etched on her face, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of guilt. But as we spoke, the conversation spiraled, emotions running high. I could see her walls rising, and in her eyes I found a glimpse of something I hadn't anticipated, an allure that drew her toward Jack, a desire that danced just beyond my reach. As the days turned into a blur of tension and silence, I wrestled with my emotions, battling the betrayal that had taken root in my heart. The images of Ellie and Jack haunted me, their shared laughter echoing in my mind. I wanted to scream, to confront them both, but I also felt an odd sense of curiosity. Would it hurt less if I knew the details, if I could see what drew her to him? The thought of Ellie entwined in Jack's arms stirred something within me, a dark thrill that made me question my own feelings. Was I turning into the very voyeur I despised, wanting to witness the betrayal rather than shield myself from it? It was a dangerous path I was treading, one that blurred the lines between love and lust, trust and betrayal. The closer I drew to the truth, the more I felt the weight of my emotions pressing down on me, suffocating me under the expectations of fidelity and loyalty. The realization hit me hard. I was losing not just Ellie, but a part of myself in the process. That night, as I lay awake, the shadows danced on the walls, a reflection of the turmoil within me. I knew I had to confront the truth, no matter how painful it might be. But the thought of facing the reality of Ellie's betrayal, of her desire for Jack, left me in a limbo of dread and anticipation. The emotional journey was just beginning, and I was both terrified and drawn to the edge of what I might discover. When morning came, I knew I had to make a choice, either to fight for my marriage or to let go and confront the shadows that lingered between us. The path forward was uncertain, but I felt an undeniable pull toward the truth, however painful it might be. The morning sun spilled through the curtains, casting a warm glow across the room, but it did little to brighten my heavy heart. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, replaying the previous night's conversation in my mind. I felt the weight of my thoughts, and with every breath, the reality of Ellie's growing distance became harder to ignore. After breakfast, Ellie was unusually animated, her laughter echoing through the house as she shared a funny story from work. I couldn't help but watch her, a part of me desperately clinging to the woman I loved, while another part felt like a stranger in my own home. The way she moved, the way her hair fell over her shoulders, everything about her was intoxicating, and yet I felt a growing chasm between us, filled with doubt and mistrust. I tried to engage her, to bridge the gap that was widening with every passing day. "Do you want to go for a walk later?" I asked, attempting to keep my tone light. She glanced at me, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. "Sure! That sounds nice." As we walked through the neighborhood later that afternoon, I took in the familiar sights, but everything felt different. The sun-drenched streets, once filled with laughter and shared dreams, now felt like a backdrop to my growing unease. I tried to initiate conversation, but each topic felt like a trap, leading me back to the unspoken truth. We reached the park, and Ellie seemed more relaxed, her laughter spilling into the air as she recounted a story about a coworker's mishap. For a moment, I allowed myself to forget the storm brewing inside me, to savor the fleeting moments of intimacy we once shared. But then, as we walked past the couple on a picnic blanket, I caught sight of a man whispering something in his partner's ear, his fingers brushing her cheek. The sight sent a jolt through me, reminding me of the intimacy Ellie shared with Jack, intimacy I now longed for with her. I turned to her, feeling a surge of desire mixed with frustration. "Ellie, can we talk about what's been going on?" She stopped, her expression shifting to one of concern. "What do you mean?" I took a breath, feeling the heaviness in my chest. "I know you've been spending time with Jack. I can't shake the feeling that there's something more between you two." Ellie looked away, her gaze falling to the ground. "It's not what you think, Donald. Jack is just a friend." I took a step closer, lowering my voice. "You seem different around him, Ellie. You light up in a way that I haven't seen in a long time." She hesitated, her eyes searching mine. "It's just... Jack understands me. He makes me feel alive." Her words pierced through me, igniting a mix of anger and longing. I stepped closer still, closing the distance between us, feeling the heat radiating off her skin. "And what about us?" I asked, my voice a whisper. "What about the life we've built together?" She looked up at me, her eyes filled with a blend of confusion and something deeper, something that felt dangerously intimate. The air between us thickened as I fought the urge to pull her close, to remind her of all the moments we had shared. But the thought of her with Jack lingered, casting a shadow over my desire. "Donald," she said softly, "I love you, but I've been feeling lost. I don't know how to explain it." As she spoke, I felt a rush of emotions, anger, hurt, but also an undeniable pull toward her. I stepped back, creating distance between us, trying to sort through the conflicting feelings. "You're lost? What does that mean for us? For our marriage?" Ellie reached out, her fingers brushing against my arm, igniting a spark that sent shivers down my spine. "I don't want to lose you, but I don't know if I can keep pretending everything is fine when it's not." In that moment, the barrier between us felt insurmountable. I wanted to reach for her, to tell her that I could help her find herself again, but the weight of her confession hung heavy in the air. I turned away, needing a moment to gather my thoughts. I could feel her watching me, her breath quickening, as if she sensed the turmoil swirling within me. "Ellie," I finally said, my voice trembling with raw honesty, "I'm scared of losing you. But I also can't ignore what I feel. I see the way you look at him." Her silence was deafening, and in that moment, I realized just how much I had been holding back. The desire I felt for her clashed with the painful truth of her possible betrayal, and I found myself torn between wanting to fight for her love and the fear of what it might mean for us. "Maybe we need to explore this, together," I suggested, my heart racing at the thought. "We can try to find out where we stand." Ellie stepped closer again, her eyes wide with surprise. "Are you saying what I think you're saying?" I nodded slowly, the weight of the words hanging in the air. "I don't want to lose you, Ellie. But I can't help but wonder, is there a part of you that wants more?" Her breath hitched, and for a moment, I saw a flicker of something in her eyes, a desire, a temptation. "I don't know, Donald. I feel pulled in so many directions." I reached out, brushing my fingers against her cheek, feeling the warmth of her skin beneath my touch. "What if we take a step back? Allow ourselves to explore those feelings, even if it means confronting the truth of what you feel for Jack?" Ellie's gaze held mine, and I could see the struggle within her. "What if I want both? What if I want to understand why I feel this way?" The question hung between us like a fragile thread, a moment of vulnerability that felt almost electrifying. I leaned closer, my heart pounding in my chest as I whispered, "Then let's explore it. Together." In that moment, the intimacy of our connection deepened, drawing us closer together even as uncertainty loomed ahead. I felt the tension building, a dangerous desire coursing through me. The urge to take her in my arms and kiss her grew stronger, but I held back, knowing that our journey into uncharted territory was just beginning. As we stood there, suspended between the past and the unknown, I realized that whatever lay ahead would test the very foundation of our love. And though fear gripped me, there was also a flicker of hope, a hope that we could navigate the complexities of our emotions, discovering not only the truth of Ellie's desires but the depths of my own heart. As I stood there, the tension crackling between us felt almost electric. The weight of Ellie's gaze held me captive, a silent plea mingling with the heat radiating from her body. I could see the uncertainty dancing in her eyes, a reflection of my own swirling emotions. The distance between us had shrunk to nothing, and the world around us faded away. "Donald," she whispered, her voice barely more than a breath. "Are we really going to do this?" I nodded slowly, my heart racing as I took a step closer. "I think we need to. To be honest with ourselves." My voice was thick with longing, the very air between us charged with unspoken desires and hidden truths. The moment felt fragile, like glass teetering on the edge of a precipice. I reached for her, fingers brushing against her arm, igniting a spark that surged through my body. "What do you want, Ellie?" I asked, my voice low and intimate. "Tell me." Her breath hitched, and for a brief moment, I saw the flicker of fear in her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by something deeper, a yearning that mirrored my own. "I want to feel alive again, Donald. I want to explore everything." Her admission sent a rush of heat through me, the realization dawning that we were both standing on the brink of something dangerous and thrilling. I stepped closer, our bodies almost touching now, and I could feel her warmth enveloping me like a soft embrace. "What if we let go of our fears, just for a moment?" The challenge hung in the air, a heady mix of temptation and possibility. I watched as Ellie's lips parted slightly, and the sight stirred something primal within me. "What do you have in mind?" she asked, her voice a sultry whisper that sent shivers down my spine. "Let's rediscover each other," I murmured, taking another step forward until we were mere inches apart. I reached up, brushing my thumb along her cheekbone, my heart pounding in my chest. "Let's remember what it felt like to be us." The moment lingered, taut with anticipation. I leaned in slowly, letting the space between us disappear. As my lips grazed hers, a rush of warmth flooded my senses. It felt like coming home after a long absence, igniting memories of stolen kisses and passionate nights. Ellie responded instantly, her hands finding their way to my shoulders, pulling me closer as our lips melded together. The kiss deepened, and I could feel the tension of the past few days melting away, replaced by an intoxicating heat. Every worry, every doubt slipped into the background as I lost myself in the warmth of her mouth against mine. Time seemed to stand still, the world outside fading into insignificance as we explored the familiar yet thrilling territory of each other's lips. I tasted the wine she had sipped earlier, mingling with the sweetness of her breath. As our kiss deepened, I felt a surge of desire coursing through me, a primal urge to reclaim what had felt lost for so long. Breaking away, I rested my forehead against hers, both of us breathing heavily. "This is what I've missed," I confessed, my voice thick with emotion. "Us. The passion, the connection." Ellie smiled softly, her cheeks flushed. "I've missed it too. But what about Jack? What does this mean for him?" "Let's not think about him right now," I replied, wrapping my arms around her waist and pulling her close again. "Let's focus on us. On what we have." Her body melted against mine, and I felt a rush of desire overwhelm me once more. I could sense the tension in her, the conflicting emotions battling within her as she clung to me. It was as if, in that moment, we were both daring to step beyond the boundaries of our established lives, risking everything for a chance to reignite the flames that had dimmed. "Donald," she breathed, her voice trembling. "This feels so intense, so real." "Good," I murmured, kissing her again, this time slower, letting the heat build gradually. I wanted to savor this moment, to remember every detail, the way her body fit against mine, the softness of her lips, the taste of desire lingering between us. Ellie pulled back slightly, her eyes searching mine. "What if we get caught? What if we lose everything?" The thought sent a shiver of excitement through me. "What if we don't? What if this is the spark we need to find our way back to each other?" She hesitated, but I could see the flicker of desire in her gaze, the pull of temptation that mirrored my own. I leaned in again, capturing her lips with mine, my hands sliding to the small of her back, drawing her even closer. As the kiss deepened, I could feel the world outside slipping away completely. It was just us, lost in the moment, exploring the raw, unfiltered passion that had simmered beneath the surface for far too long. The tension of our situation melted into something pure and primal, a connection that felt both exhilarating and terrifying. Ellie gasped softly as I deepened the kiss, the sound sending a rush of warmth through me. I could feel her body responding, her fingers tangling in my hair as she surrendered to the moment. I could sense her inhibitions slipping away, replaced by a burgeoning sense of freedom as we both embraced this dangerous territory we were venturing into. In that moment, I realized we were standing at a crossroads. The choices we made from here on out would define not only our relationship but the very essence of who we were. Yet, as I held her close, I felt an overwhelming sense of hope, a belief that perhaps this was exactly what we needed to find our way back to each other amidst the chaos that threatened to pull us apart. With that thought swirling in my mind, I leaned in for another kiss, allowing the boundaries of our love and desire to blur as we embraced the uncertainty ahead. The world may have been uncertain, but in each other's arms, we found solace in the warmth of our connection, one that had the power to heal the wounds of betrayal and rekindle the flame of our love. As we pulled away from the kiss, our breaths mingling in the air, I could see the vulnerability reflected in Ellie's eyes. It was a look I hadn't seen in a long time, raw, honest, and tinged with desire. It felt as if we had peeled back layers of our relationship, exposing the tender core that had been hidden beneath the weight of doubt and fear. "Donald," she whispered, a hint of uncertainty lacing her voice. "What if this is a mistake?" I gently cupped her face in my hands, my thumb brushing against her cheek. "What if it's not? What if this is the beginning of us finding our way back to each other?" I wanted her to see that this wasn't just about infidelity. It was about rediscovering the passion that had once ignited our relationship. She hesitated, her gaze flickering between longing and fear. "I don't want to hurt you," she confessed, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I also can't deny how I feel when I'm with you." "Then let's embrace that feeling," I urged, stepping closer once again. I felt the heat radiating off her body, an intoxicating blend of desire and uncertainty that sent shivers down my spine. "Let's explore this connection and see where it leads us. Together." Ellie's breath quickened as she searched my eyes, and in that moment, I knew we were both ready to dive into the unknown. With a swift movement, I wrapped my arms around her waist, pulling her flush against me. Her body molded to mine, and I could feel the warmth of her skin beneath the fabric of her shirt, igniting the fire within me. I leaned in, capturing her lips with mine once more, this kiss more urgent and fervent than before. My hands slipped beneath her shirt, fingertips brushing against the soft skin of her back, igniting sparks of electricity. She gasped against my mouth, a sound that sent a thrill coursing through me. "Donald," she breathed, pulling back just enough to meet my gaze, her eyes darkened with desire. "What if we get carried away?" "Let's get carried away," I murmured, pressing my lips to hers again, unable to resist the magnetic pull between us. I wanted to feel every inch of her, to lose myself in the warmth of her body and the intensity of our connection. With each kiss, I felt the barriers we had built begin to crumble, leaving only the raw, unfiltered need that coursed through us. My hands roamed over her curves, tracing the line of her waist before moving up to her shoulders, feeling the soft fabric of her shirt beneath my fingertips. Ellie's breath quickened, and she responded eagerly, her fingers finding their way into my hair as she deepened the kiss. The world around us faded away until there was nothing but the two of us, lost in the heat of the moment. "Do you remember that weekend we spent at the lake?" I murmured against her lips, trying to evoke the memories that had sparked our initial passion. She nodded, her breath hitching as I pressed my body against hers. "How could I forget? You had that crazy idea to go swimming at midnight. We were so reckless." I chuckled, the warmth of the memory flooding back. "But it felt so alive, didn't it?" Ellie's eyes sparkled with mischief as she leaned in closer, her lips brushing against my ear. "I remember how we couldn't keep our hands off each other afterward." The memory ignited something primal within me. I could feel the desire swelling, pulling me closer to her. "What if we recapture that feeling right now?" I whispered, my voice low and seductive. "What if we let go of everything and just be?" Ellie looked at me, her expression shifting as if she were weighing the implications of my words. The air between us crackled with tension, the possibility of what could unfold palpable. "What if we do?" she replied, a hint of daring in her voice. With that, I took her hand and led her back to the house, every step fueled by the magnetic attraction that pulsed between us. Once inside, I guided her to the living room, the familiar space now charged with an undeniable energy. As we stood together, I could feel the urgency building, and I leaned in, capturing her lips once more. The kiss deepened, our mouths moving in perfect harmony, as if we were rediscovering a dance we had long forgotten. Ellie's hands roamed over my back, exploring the contours of my body as I pulled her closer. My hands found their way to her waist, fingertips brushing against the fabric of her shirt, a reminder of the barrier between us. But in that moment, all I wanted was to feel her skin against mine, to lose myself in the heat of her body. "Let me," I murmured, my voice thick with desire as I began to lift her shirt, revealing the soft curves of her waist. She shivered as the cool air met her skin, and I couldn't help but marvel at the sight before me, her vulnerability, her beauty, the intoxicating mix of desire and uncertainty etched across her face. "Donald," she breathed, her voice laced with anticipation, but I could see the thrill in her eyes. I brushed my fingers along her bare skin, tracing the delicate lines of her body as I leaned in to kiss her again. Each kiss ignited a fire within me, a passionate desire that felt both familiar and exhilaratingly new. I lost myself in her warmth, my hands exploring her body, mapping out the curves that had haunted my dreams for so long. As I lifted her shirt higher, Ellie gasped softly, her breath mingling with mine. The sound sent a rush of heat through me, and I could feel her body responding, arching closer to mine as if inviting me to take her fully. "Are you sure?" I asked, pausing to meet her gaze, needing to ensure that we were both on the same page. She nodded, a spark of determination lighting up her eyes. "I want this, Donald. I want us." With her words, a wave of relief washed over me. The walls we had built between us began to crumble, replaced by a fierce longing that demanded to be unleashed. I lifted her shirt completely, my hands brushing against the softness of her skin, feeling the heat radiating off her body. Every touch sent waves of desire coursing through me, a reminder of how much I craved her. I leaned in, kissing along her collarbone, trailing my lips down to the swell of her breasts, savoring the taste of her skin. "God, you're beautiful!" I murmured against her skin, feeling her shudder beneath my touch. The realization that we were crossing a line, stepping into uncharted territory, only fueled my desire. Ellie's fingers tangled in my hair, urging me closer as she surrendered to the moment. "Don't stop," she whispered, her voice filled with need. With every kiss, every caress, I felt the weight of our shared history blend with the exhilaration of the present. This was more than just an escape. It was a reclamation of what we had lost, a chance to reconnect on a level that felt both terrifying and liberating. As we embraced the heat of our desires, I knew that whatever lay ahead would challenge us both. But in that moment, as our bodies intertwined and our hearts raced, all that mattered was the fire that burned between us, reminding us of the passion that had always been there, waiting to be reignited. The world outside faded away, leaving only the intoxicating reality of Ellie and me entwined in each other's arms. Every touch, every kiss fueled the hunger within me that had long been dormant. As my lips traced a path down her neck, I could feel her heart racing beneath my fingertips, matching the rhythm of my own. "God, I've missed this," I whispered against her skin, my breath hot and heavy. I wanted to savor every moment, to etch this feeling into my memory. With each kiss, I felt us drifting further from the constraints of our reality, losing ourselves in the warmth of each other. Ellie tilted her head back, exposing more of her neck to my eager mouth. The soft sigh that escaped her lips sent a thrill through me. "Donald," she breathed, her voice a mix of longing and urgency. "I want to feel everything." Her words ignited a fire within me, and I knew I couldn't hold back any longer. With a surge of desire, I lifted her effortlessly, wrapping her legs around my waist as I carried her to the couch. I could feel her warm body pressed against mine, her heartbeat syncing with the pounding in my chest. As I set her down, I hovered above her, taking a moment to drink in the sight of her. Her hair fanned out around her, and the look of anticipation in her eyes fueled my desire. "You're stunning," I murmured, brushing a strand of hair away from her face. Ellie smiled, a glint of mischief in her gaze. "And you're not too bad yourself." With that, I captured her lips again, pouring all my longing into the kiss. It was an exploration, a dance of tongues as I tasted the sweetness of her breath, the intoxicating blend of desire and vulnerability. As our bodies moved together, the world outside ceased to exist, leaving only the heat between us. I pulled back slightly, looking deep into her eyes. "Tell me what you want," I urged, needing to know how far she was willing to go. "I want you to touch me," she replied, her voice low and sultry, sending a thrill down my spine. "I want you to make me feel alive." My heart raced at her words, and I nodded, eager to explore the depths of our connection. I began trailing kisses down her body, starting from her collarbone and moving lower, feeling her shudder beneath my touch. The soft fabric of her bra felt like an obstacle I was determined to remove. I slid my fingers under the strap, unhooking it with practiced ease, my heart pounding in anticipation. As I peeled it away, revealing her to me, I marveled at her beauty. The sight of her, vulnerable yet radiant, ignited a fire in me that felt all-consuming. "Ellie," I breathed, my voice thick with desire as I lowered my mouth to her chest, kissing her softly, teasingly, just enough to make her gasp. I felt her hands grip my hair, urging me closer, a sound of encouragement escaping her lips. "You're driving me crazy," she whispered, her eyes dark with longing. "Don't stop." With every kiss, I felt her body arching toward me, a silent invitation for more. I took my time, savoring each moment as I trailed my lips lower, kissing my way down her stomach. My hands explored the curves of her hips, mapping every inch of her skin, relishing the way she responded to my touch. "Please, Donald," she urged, her voice a mixture of desperation and longing. "I need more." Her words were like a match to kindling, igniting a flame of desire within me that was impossible to contain. I slid my hands beneath the waistband of her pants, fingers teasingly brushing against her skin as I worked them down her legs. She helped me, lifting her hips to allow me to peel them off completely, leaving her bare before me. I took a moment to admire her, the sight of her vulnerability fueling my desire. "You're so beautiful," I murmured, my voice thick with emotion as I leaned in to kiss her again, our lips crashing together in a frenzy of passion. As our kisses deepened, I could feel the tension building between us, a magnetic pull that threatened to overwhelm us both. I trailed my fingers along her thigh, feeling the warmth of her skin beneath my touch, my heart racing at the thought of exploring every inch of her body. Ellie's hands roamed over my back, pulling me closer as if trying to fuse our bodies together. "Don't tease me," she gasped, her voice laced with urgency. "I need you." The urgency in her tone sent a thrill through me, and I kissed my way back up her body, pausing to capture her lips once more. "Are you sure?" I asked, needing to hear her affirmation. "I'm sure," she breathed, her eyes locking onto mine, filled with determination and need. "I want you, Donald. I want to feel you." With her words ringing in my ears, I positioned myself between her legs, the heat radiating from her body pulling me closer. I felt the weight of the moment settle over us, an intoxicating blend of desire and vulnerability. As I hovered above her, I could sense the anticipation crackling in the air. "I want this," I murmured, my voice thick with desire. "I want you." And with that, I closed the distance between us, surrendering to the heat that enveloped us. In that moment, nothing else mattered but the two of us, lost in our passion and the intensity of our connection. As we moved together, a rhythm building between us, I felt the world around us disappear, leaving only the two of us entwined in a dance of desire. It was both exhilarating and terrifying, but as I surrendered to the moment, I knew that whatever lay ahead, we were embracing it together, hand in hand, heart to heart. As our bodies moved in a rhythm that felt both familiar and new, I lost myself in the heat of the moment. Every sensation was heightened, every touch igniting a fire deep within me. Ellie's breath quickened beneath me, a melodic rhythm that matched the pounding of my heart. It was a symphony of passion, an exhilarating connection that transcended the complexities of our situation. With each gentle thrust, I felt barriers crumbling, walls that had kept us apart for so long now dismantling under the weight of our desire. It was as if we were rediscovering each other all over again, every caress, every gasp a reminder of the love that still lingered beneath the surface. "Donald," she gasped, her eyes filled with longing and something deeper, something that spoke of trust and vulnerability. "I've never felt so alive." Her words sent a rush of warmth through me, reaffirming the connection we had been longing for. "Neither have I," I replied, my voice a breathless whisper as I lost myself in her gaze. It felt like a rebirth, a chance to start anew, even amidst the chaos of our lives. As the intensity built between us, I could feel the tension coiling tighter, drawing us closer to the edge. I wrapped my arms around her, pulling her closer still, our bodies melding together in a way that felt almost sacred. The world outside faded, leaving only the intoxicating sensation of us, two souls intertwined in a moment of pure, unadulterated passion. With every movement, I could feel the boundaries of our lives blurring, the outside world dissolving into nothingness. There was no past, no future, just us, existing in this one beautiful moment. As we surrendered to the waves of pleasure, I could see it in her eyes, a mixture of desire, vulnerability, and an undeniable spark of something more. It was as if we were both recognizing the power of our connection, the way it transcended the challenges we faced. "Let go," I urged, feeling the tension build, the heat between us reaching a crescendo. "Just let it happen." In that instant, it was as if everything clicked into place. With a final surge, we tumbled over the edge together, lost in a whirlwind of ecstasy. The world exploded around us, colors swirling in a euphoric dance as we surrendered to the wave of pleasure that enveloped us. In the aftermath, we lay tangled together, our bodies glistening with a sheen of sweat, the air thick with the remnants of our passion. As I held Ellie close, I could feel her heartbeats slowing beneath my palm, a soft, rhythmic reminder of our shared experience. "Wow!" she breathed, her voice a hushed whisper. "That was incredible." I smiled, brushing a strand of hair away from her face. "It really was." As we lay there, The weight of what had just transpired settled over us, but instead of fear or regret, I felt a profound sense of peace. We had crossed a line, yes, but in doing so, we had also reignited something beautiful that had been smoldering beneath the surface. "I know we have a lot to figure out," I said, my voice barely above a whisper. "But I want to face it together." Ellie nodded, her eyes searching mine. "I want that too. I don't want to lose you again." In that moment, I realized that whatever the future held, whatever challenges we would face, this connection, this spark, had the power to guide us through. We had taken a risk, and while the road ahead might be uncertain, we were no longer standing alone. As we lay there, wrapped in each other's arms, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe we could navigate this new reality together, learning to trust each other again, embracing both the complexities and the joys that lay ahead. Together, we could rebuild, reigniting the flames of our love and passion, proving to ourselves that even in the face of betrayal, we could find a way back to each other, stronger, deeper, and more alive than ever before.